Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today for a quick video on organizing and best practices for your Travefy library. I am Mari Bay. If you haven't met me, I am a travel advisor, Costa Rica specialist. I am also a Travefy virtual assistant as well as a Travefy brand ambassador. I do these videos because they genuinely make me happy. I enjoy helping, and I believe that if you're going to invest in software, you might as well maximize its usage. So one big hot topic in the Travefy Tips, Tricks, and Share Facebook group has been labels. A lot of people have not been a fan of labels, so I'm hoping today kind of gives a different perspective into labels and helps with that. And if you're not in that Facebook group, go ahead and join us on Facebook. It's called Travefy Tips, Tricks, and Share. I am an admin. I'm in there every single day with a lot of our fellow Travefy users, helping each other, brainstorming ideas, and bouncing ideas off of each other. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. Here is my library. I do want to point out before we really dive in here is that with me having a multi-purpose business, I'm working as a virtual assistant and a travel advisor. My library is going to look a little bit different because I do work dual positions in my library. So some items that you see in here are not going to apply to you, or you'll see, for example, on my screen, Shayna Henry's Disneyland Planning Hub. She is a virtual assistant client. I did some work in my library, but that's for her. So just keep that in mind as we go through here if anything looks confusing or you're like, why is that even in her account? So I want to start with the general interface of the Travefy library. I know a lot of people are kind of like afraid to click buttons. I don't know why people are afraid to click buttons because I promise guys, if you click a button, nothing crazy big as scary is going to happen. So at the very top left here, we have new library item. This is where you can add new items based on just whatever kind they are. I work most with task lists and forms right now in this part of my business, but when I was very first starting out, all I really built out was info sections. So I have tons of info sections. What you can do next going down the list is create by you. So this is a little checkbox that you can check. So if you've pulled anything off of the Travefy marketplace, you've copied some of the items that I've shared on my website or in that Travefy Facebook group, or even in some of the webinars, then those won't show up whenever you have that filter applied. Next is filter by category. I love filtering by category, and I don't think enough people utilize it or even truly notice that it's there. It's there, and it's so handy. So filtering by category, you can scroll down through all of the different types of items in your Travefy library, and you can actually sort through them. So I'm going to show just like a task list. And then like forms, for example, you can have all of your forms show up. So that is super beneficial. And I'm going to demo that with the addition of labels here in just a minute as well. So it goes a little bit further. Next is filter by sharing. You probably won't need to use this. This is primarily for people who are creating like Travefy items to share with other people. So like if you have a sub-agent or a team of agents that work with you or a virtual assistant, something like that, this may be something that you use more often. But if you're just a one-man show, probably not something you have to worry about. Next is going to be filtering by labels. This is the hotspot. I know so many of you guys are always in this Facebook group talking about, I really just wish we had folders. I wish we didn't have labels. And my brain loves labels. My brain is all about labels. And I'll be honest, like I have Google Drive, for example, and I don't use it because I cannot stand the organization of folders. The organization of folders, in my opinion, is too restricted, and things just get hidden way too easily. They're not in your face. So like you have one main folder, then a subfolder, then a subfolder, then a subfolder, and it's just like, well, where is the item that I'm looking for? And so like my Canva, for example, hot mess because like the folders don't click for my brain, but the labels in Travefy, they click for my brain and I love them. So one thing I also want to mention before we really dive in is sometimes your library will not always clear that URL whenever you start clicking on these buttons on the left for filters. So you'll have to just back it out and then refresh and then it'll all pop back up. Okay, so my labels and my system. This may work for you. This may not work for your brain. You may love it. You may hate it. You may be like, oh, that kind of makes sense, but my brain thinks that this little tweak would make more sense. Do whatever your brain will do. Do whatever makes sense for your brain so that you can stay organized. I have recently worked on a project for a travel advisor who had like 2,000 items unlabeled. It was a hot mess to say the least, and she knows it's a hot mess. She told me in the email, but I really worked it down, cleared out like 200 labels, and got her library organized. And what I did is I organized her labels the same way I organized mine. And what I do is I always label the resort or hotel name. I label if it's an affiliate, I label the destination, I label if it's an itinerary, I label if it's regarding flights, I label everything I possibly can, because labels, if you think about it, they are stackable in the same way that folders are. So imagine, for example, you have on your Google Drive, you have a folder that says Antigua and Barbuda. So in this case, Antigua and Barbuda would be your quote unquote primary folder, or in this case, it's my primary label. Now, after that, I'm like, okay, well, I want to look at Coco Bay Resort in Antigua, so then I add that second label. And yes, I use multiple labels, and I think you should too. Because once you start adding on multiple labels, it makes it so much easier to find what you need. So like Antigua and Barbuda, let me see if I have itinerary for them. I should. Oh, I don't have anything for itinerary on Antigua. I think I do for St. Lucia. But either way, I hope you get like what I'm saying. So like you can even go in, you can say itinerary. I have an itinerary I'm working on, but I'm not really sure where I'm going to send these clients yet. So let's check out the Cook Islands. So that's just a little demo right there. And what you can do with labels is apply multiple. So for example, Air Alo, the eSIM carrier that I recommend to clients, because Air Alo is amazing and eSIMs are so amazing. I do go in and I added multiple labels. So Air Alo has its own label. It's also an itinerary because I add it to every single itinerary. It's on the Know Before You Go because I add it to the Know Before You Go section in the itinerary. And it is an affiliate because I have my affiliate links in here. And you'll also see that my affiliate links are, there are fewer items. Oh my goodness, words escape me. So that's how labels work in my brain. And I know some of you are like, okay, but what's even the point of labels? Why do we need labels? We have a search bar right here. Now that search bar, what it's doing is it's ultimately querying a huge database that includes all of your library items. Whenever you have 20 library items, that search query is most likely going to pull what you need. But when you have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 library items, that search query gets not as perfect. So it gets harder to find exactly what you are looking for. So what you can do once you have a lot of items is you would then click, I'm going to go back to Antigua. You can click on Antigua and then you can search for whatever you need in Antigua. I'm just going to say camouflage just because it's already on the screen. But you see but then it only pulls the camouflage for that country. But on that drop down, you could see that it pulls up all of the countries and their camouflage. So use the search function, but do know that that search query is not always perfect. So having labels applied is huge. And again, you're going to see up here that that query did not clear out of that URL. So I'm just going to refresh that. And next, I'm going to move over here to the right. You are able to filter your library items by their name alphabetically or reverse alphabetically. Is that how that phrase goes? Or by the date it was last edited or updated. Now, the big part for library organization that I don't know if people just don't know about it or they're just underusing it, but the bulk editing function in a library is huge. The project I just told you guys about that I was working on that was like 2,000 library items, this saved the day. I was not sitting here one by one clicking on these, fixing, editing, blah, blah, blah. So whenever you originally check this, it's going to give you 30 selected items, regardless of if you have 1,000. So what you can do is just scroll and scroll and scroll, and it'll keep opening your items. And then eventually you can just select, and it selects more than the original 30 count. Once you have those selected, you can bulk delete if you want. So a good example for when you would bulk delete, like if you had early in your career, you saved every single lodging with every single client's information and all of their check-in times and all of their personal information, go on and bulk delete those. Or if you want to share those with like a travel colleague, a subagent, you can do that here, or you can apply labels. And what I like to do with that in this case is, so for example, you can I'll go to day, and then you can click on these and you can apply a label, and you can bulk apply a label. And that's just a quick way to organize your library, especially when you're working with a ton of information. So that's the primary function of the Travefy library. I'm gonna make my face big again so I can talk to you guys. But that's the primary function of the Travefy library. That is what works for my brain. I hope it makes more sense for your brain now. And if you need to think about it as folders, like I said, just think about like what that folder system would be in your brain and map those out as labels as you're organizing your library. And if you have any questions, drop them in the description of the caption. Drop them in the caption, and also feel free to post them in the Travefy Tips, Tricks, and Share Facebook group. And if you are not a current Travefy user, but you're exploring the option of Travefy, just know that once you get your Travefy library built up, it saves so much time. Having library items ready to go whenever you're quoting proposals, especially whenever you hit a big wave or a lot of client work at once, the drag and drop feature is amazing. So if you are interested in Travefy, I do have a referral link in the caption description where you can save a little bit of money on your rate. So check that out. And like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm always happy to help.